I have some insanely big news for you today. And I know, I say that all the time, but 2021 has been just a truly record year when it comes to cryptocurrency adoption. It seems that countries' sovereign wealth funds are now officially buying Bitcoin. This is incredibly big news. I'm going to be breaking this story down for you and exactly who is buying Bitcoin now. My name's Lark, and every day I make videos to help you make money investing. So if that is what you would like to do, I highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell to know when I put out a new video. By the way, every single week I publish an investor report called Wealth Mastery, which is designed to help keep you ahead of the curve in this fast-moving market with all kinds of exclusive insights. Every single issue contains a trending coin analysis, a deep dive altcoin report, a DeFi tutorial, technical analysis looking at the crypto markets, the latest token sales, and much, much more. Just click on the link down below in the description where you can learn more about becoming a member today. Don't miss out on another issue. So let's talk about Bitcoin. And there is just one simple thing I want to talk about today when it comes to the charts for Bitcoin, because this really is just a very, very beautiful thing, and it's a big one. So we have just bounced off of the 50-day moving average. So that could have been the bottom of this downtrend, assuming, of course, that it does hold, that we don't suffer more pain in the future, but it's looking pretty nice at the moment. The 50-day moving average is a super important line to say the uptrend is continuing. It's still in play. Bounces off the 50-day moving average in a bull market. They are rare and powerful opportunities. The last bounce off the 50-day MA actually saw Bitcoin rally by 98%. If we repeated that this time, then Bitcoin is basically going to go straight up to 100K. Not saying it's going to do another 98% gain off here, but it's definitely a good sign. For reference to the last bull run, you can see that Bitcoin either touched or fell under the 50-day moving average just 7 times. Every single one of those times was a massive opportunity with the price of Bitcoin going on to reach new highs afterwards. The only question is, now you've seen these charts, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Now, before I get into the big news for today, here's some very fascinating Ethereum statistics for you. Right now, Ethereum is settling $22 billion worth of volume every day on chain. Incredible. Bitcoin, by contrast, settling around $12 billion a day on chain. This is absolutely insane. Even with the high fees, Ethereum is in a total league of its own at this point, miles ahead of the nearest competitor, which of course is Bitcoin, and leagues ahead of other smart contract platforms. This quite clearly shows what people are actually doing beyond the narratives and the hype. Who is actually using what? This is, the proof in the pudding, right? Bitcoin is largely, of course, a buy it and hold it in your wallet kind of thing, so the lower volume doesn't actually surprise me all that much. Whereas Ethereum, it's the nexus of almost everything exciting happening in the cryptocurrency markets right now. NFTs and DeFi and all that stuff, stablecoins, is all happening on Ethereum. It is the biggest chain by far with the biggest amount of users by far. Although the big money does keep gunning for cornering the supply of Bitcoin, which leads me on to the main story of the day. So the CEO of the New York Digital Investment Group, NYDIG, he was on the Raoul Pal Real Vision show. They are one of the biggest players, by the way. NYDIG is one of the biggest players in the Bitcoin fund markets. So he actually leaked some very interesting information. He said that state-owned investment funds, sovereign wealth funds, are starting to ask them about buying Bitcoin. This is incredibly big news because those sovereign wealth funds represent a monumental wall of money. Globally, sovereign wealth funds have around $9 to $10 trillion at their disposal. Sovereign wealth funds represent various countries' investment arms, basically. For example, the United Arab Emirates has around $1.3 trillion in their sovereign wealth fund. Norway has around $1.1 trillion. Singapore around $700 billion. Qatar around $350 billion. Australia around $300 billion. And that's just a small selection of different countries, but it gives you an idea of what kind of money we're talking about here and which countries are having these kinds of funds. Now, how do you think the market would react if the UAE or Norway announced a $10 billion purchase for their funds, which, by the way, would represent less than 1% of their total funds? This is the first big step for countries letting their sovereign wealth funds buy Bitcoin before we actually start seeing central banks buying Bitcoin for their reserves, which is also going to happen at some point. I know that some central banks are already playing around with Bitcoin, but until we actually see a major economy come out like France or Switzerland and say, hey, we just bought $10 billion of the Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset for our central bank reserves, we're not really going to get that country level FOMO being sparked. But sovereign wealth funds, this is big because this is the investment arm of countries buying Bitcoin. So the entry of these funds, it potentially is going to be the major catalyst for country level Bitcoin FOMO to actually start kicking off. And also, according to Raoul Pal of Real Vision, Singapore's wealth fund has already started buying Bitcoin. It should be the first confirmed sovereign wealth fund to buy Bitcoin. In particular, he said that they have been buying virgin Bitcoin, that is Bitcoin straight from the miners with history just directly of having been mined, not being used by somebody else. Singapore actually has two sovereign wealth funds for the state. Now, the one that is called Temasek has been buying Bitcoin according to Pal. Now, Temasek is no stranger to crypto, so this is actually not surprising. Temasek invested in BINANCE Singapore a couple years ago. They even did some Bitcoin experiments back in like 2014 or something like that. But this is the first time that they have been said to be buying Bitcoin. Now, to be clear, Temasek has not come out to confirm if they have indeed bought Bitcoin or how much Bitcoin they have bought. But Raoul Pal is not the kind of person to be out there throwing around names without something actually being true. So this is probably going to be true, and we're going to hear the announcement in the next couple of days from Temasek themselves. I mean, hey, the cat's out of the bag now. Now they have to talk about it. Singapore, of course, as always, leading the way when it comes to cryptocurrency adoption. Definitely one of the most crypto-friendly countries in the world, so it's not surprising to see their sovereign wealth fund buying Bitcoin. The next question is, who else has been making inquiries? Because the CEO of NYDIG, he was talking about different sovereign wealth funds in plural, not singular. So I think that maybe Norway or the UAE, pretty big possibilities here, considering they're both relatively pro-crypto places. Man, the last few months have been insane. We've had publicly traded companies, endowments, pensions, macro investors, retail investors flooding back in. Now freaking sovereign wealth funds, literally the investment arms of entire countries, buying Bitcoin. Insane. Insane. Now is not the time to be bearish. I mean, seriously, sovereign wealth funds have entered the chat for Bitcoin. In fact, I bought more crypto today, by the way. This is, you gotta practice what you preach. Buy the dips, right? You buy the dips. I actually bought some more Ethereum and just a tiny little bit of Bitcoin too, but mostly Ethereum. I added my Ethereum position today. But your question for today, what cryptocurrencies have you been buying this week? There's been some great sales out there, so I know you guys have been stacking up some stuff. Curious to hear what you've been buying down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.